Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. So today we're going a little bit far back into the history of RuneScape and taking a look at Rune. More specifically, when it first came out in Classic RuneScape way back in the day. When Classic was first released, Adamant was the current best in-slot item. Of course, one day an update showed up and introduced Rune Armor, but there was a major catch. It was unobtainable by any method except for a single one. This was actually smithing. This created an absolutely enormous amount of hype, and it was absolutely insanely expensive. The thing is that smithing was one of the oldest skills in the game, and at the time of its release, Jagex purposely made anvils and furnaces far away to ensure that it was leveled up slowly. Because of this, 99 smithing was actually really highly desired and wanted because of the rune armor. It was only obtainable at level 99, which is absolutely insane. This actually made some of the first RuneScape players incredibly rich as they monopolized the prices over their control of being able to create rune items themselves. Now this idea and the thought process behind this is actually an extremely interesting one. I mean, being early adapters to the game and having the head start in upping your smithing level when Rune first dropped was really an absolutely huge deal. It quite literally allowed players to utterly set the entire landscape of the economy, as it was still in its very early stages, and early players completely were able to take control of the single most valuable asset at the time, allowing them to profit off other players who all aspired to get Rune in the early days, and allowed them to shift the value of the entire economy enormously. Other items released after Rune were actually a little bit easier to obtain and readily more available, followed by a Rune update that actually made Rune items more available, and this was kind of to correct the economy, just goes to show how it really did have a huge effect and how Jagex actually had to fight back against it to create a little bit more of a correction and stable platform for the future of RuneScape. Anyways, enough of that, let's actually get back on topic. Now the thing is, I think it's also important to mention that Runite, as it was the core of everything, of course, often referred to as Rune, was the strongest workable material within RuneScape Classic that spawned everything that we're talking about. It can only be smithed by players with smithing level of 85 or more. The ores, bars, and finished products are, as we know, that very classical and beautiful bright cyan color. Wielding or becoming an expert at mining and smithing was among one of the highest achievements in RuneScape Classic. Just to give you guys a good scope and a solid perspective of rune armor, we should probably just compare the second best in-slot item at the time, which would have been Adamant. There's a lot of items we could compare as they spread over a variety of armors and weapons, but let's go for the base set of a medium helmet, plain mail body, and a pair of plate mail legs. The Adamant variant would total to 108 compared to the Rune counterpart, which would add up of being 50% better at 150. This pattern actually continues with the two-handed sword, scimitars, daggers, axes, maces, longswords, and much more. Every single thing that you will try to compare to Rune and Adamant would be about 50 to 70% more effective and stronger. Now this is actually an absolutely huge feat, as every item being 50 to 70% stronger really adds up quickly, and it's honestly a nightmare to deal with. It ended up changing the game. Have Rune or have nothing at all. Becoming the best in-slot item was a very huge deal. Not to mention, you also have to keep in mind that this was way back in the game when everything was still fresh, and the new addition of a top tier item was a lot more hyped up because of the lower numbers and overall items in the game back in the day. This meant that the improvement of stats were generally limited, so adding something new for the player base to hunt after was a big and bold move. Especially if we consider that it was all locked behind that huge number of 99 smithing, which really caused an enormous rush in attempts to level up the skill. Now, truth be told, the road to level 99 is a complex one due to the fact that there's various efficient routes, and as you level up, you change what you're actually smelting and smithing in order to adjust to the most efficient leveling up methods. However, with that being said, it's interesting to capture a perspective of just how hard it was to get 99 smithing. Now, for the sake of simplicity, we don't want to get too complex here. I'm no analyst or mathematician, but if you were to use the gauntlets of goldsmithing on top of smelting gold bars consistently for XP, it would take a total of 385,700 gold ores to achieve level 99 smithing starting from level 1. But there's a big problem with this math, and that's actually because you would need to have level 40 mining or higher to actually mine a gold rock in the first place, and need to have level 40 smithing itself to even smelt the gold. This means you'll need to actually use the less efficient methods first to get to this point, but no matter how we cut it, it's actually just very hard to calculate properly. But a safe estimate is anywhere from a crazy 50 to 100 hours, which is absolutely mind-blowing. I mean, a full-fledged AAA game has an estimate about 30 hours of gameplay. Now, this is actually an amazing way for you guys to really put into perspective how hard and how much grinding had to be done. Keep in mind, RuneScape was a little bit less efficient back then, and it really goes to show and really puts explanation to why early adapters were able to make so much money off Rune so effectively. Now, the next fact I want to share with you guys, there's just a little bit of a disclaimer I want to put, is that there's no way of confirming this fact, but if you do your own research around the forums way back in the really early days of RuneScape, a lot of people go to suggest that some of the richest RuneScape players were actually the early adopters of smithing, and it kind of further demonstrates how much control Rune's release and the update for Rune put into the player's hands because of the limited obtaining method it had. The playing field did eventually change though, and pretty drastically. Eventually new monsters had to be added, and Rune items were actually included in the drop tables of those new monsters, and this really changed and shifted the landscape of Rune and its economy, of course. Being the highest level monsters in the game created an opportunity for Jagex to add Rune into the drop rate table as like a really sweet reward. With that being said, it actually created a bunch of weird and seemingly random drop tables because of these updates that did not come out all at once, but like over a certain period of time. Now, the most notable monster that dropped Rune items were actually the fire giants, which could drop the Rune scimitar, and then there was the lesser demon who could drop the Rune medium helmet, and the greater demon that could drop the Rune full helmet, which is also known as the large helmet back in the day. Blue Dragon could also drop the Rune Dagger, Black Dragon could drop the Rune Chain Bodies, and finally, the Red and Black Dragon could drop the Rune Longsword. It's important to keep in mind one thing, that these monsters at the time were very top tier. They were the highest end monsters in all of RuneScape, but being a way to obtain Rune armor made them appealing, considering that the only other option was the intense 99 level smithing. With that being said, dropping the one random piece of Rune item was actually very rare, and with not much else, they weren't set up to be very future-proof, as these drop tables were updated, but not with the consideration of them being the strongest monsters back in the day. This resulted them in being more so of a relic of the past rather than being modernized to the current day RuneScape. Their drop tables were sort of scrambled as the game updated and Rune, as well as the landscape of its rarity and price changed. The drop tables, however, didn't. This left them to be considered poor options to kill, as their low chance Rune drop rates weren't worth the challenge it was to kill them anymore. While Rune was still high and mighty, we wanted to chase these monsters, slay them, and hope to get the Rune that they would drop instead of grinding to 99, but as updates went on, Rune became cheaper and more obtainable, the worth of these monsters fell, and it goes to show that RuneScape needs a lot of maintenance to stay up to date. Now the thing is that there is a lot of things that made Rune so crazy and memorable, and there's a lot of things that need to be updated. Not just the monsters, but even the smithing and its style needs quality of life improvements. Furnace changes made to Edgeville and Yatzo, as well as the accessibility of Rune going up, has made smithing 99 now pretty useless, which is just crazy to think about if you consider how insanely powerful and valued it was at the very beginning and early days of RuneScape. Anyways, that's about all we've got for today. Let us know what you think about classical RuneScape as well as when Rune was first released. If you did like this video, then hit that like button, and remember to subscribe for some future content. Also, if you guys want to feel free to let me know what I can improve in the comments below. I'm always reading, always listening. I think it's the most critical part of building a YouTube channel. And yeah, besides that, just thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.